I am Chris Hagedorn. If you've attended past developer summits, I'm probably familiar to you. I've been working on the developer tools team since it was started a number of years ago. I really don't know at this point how long it's been. So this is the developer tools panel. What I'm going to do right now is walk through a quick overview of the set of tools that we offer to developers. And then we'll jump into the Q&A. So starting off with the Roku Resource Monitor, if you attended yesterday's keynote or yesterday's SceneGraph panel, you've already heard a fair amount about the Resource Monitor. So this is our tool to track and visualize things like system memory, graphics memory, CPU, SceneGraph nodes that are being used by your channel. You can use this tool to test the different screens in your channel and identify potential problems in terms of resource consumption, various memory trends, and things like that. This tool is intended to be used in conjunction with the BrightScript Profiler as a set of tools that you can use to improve the performance of your channel. And that brings us right into the BrightScript Profiler, which is a sort of a deeper dive tool. This tool will collect and help you analyze channel metrics related to memory usage, performance, channel efficiency, things like CPU usage, wall clock time, function counts, memory usage. It can help you detect memory leaks in your channel. And that's all in this pretty little dashboard over here on the side. It provides a set of graphing tools, and you can see all of your various node counts and things like that in here. Roku Remote Tool. This is another web-based tool. Gives you a nice on-screen interface for controlling a Roku from a browser using this online remote. It's great for automation and recording a set of tasks that you perform over and over. It's scriptable. It uses this YAML sort of syntax where you can script the set of remote actions that you want it to take on your channel. The Deep Link Tester. This is a great tool, especially when it comes to certification of your channel. So there are a whole lot of certification requirements around deep linking, and this tool is great for helping you exercise those use cases in your channel before you submit for certification. So you can be sure that you're going to pass. You can send it content IDs, media types, any other keys that you might want to make use of in your channel. Media type and content ID are of course required, but you're free to use other ECP type launch commands, launch parameters if you want. Similar to that, the Stream and RAF testing tool, also a great tool for certification preparation. This will let you test your content streams or your RAF URLs to make sure that your content and your ads are playing as expected on the device. It does things like DRM, subtitles. It supports headers and cookies if you're doing secure authenticated type streams that need that kind of information. It does support those things. Static analysis. This is another piece of channel certification. So when you submit your channel for certification, there is a static analysis step where you can see any flags that are raised by our static analysis tool. But what some people may not know is that this is also a downloadable command line tool that you can grab from our DevTools site and run offline. You don't have to do this through the submission certification portal. You can do this offline as well, which is great for, again, testing and getting prepared for certification and making sure that you're going to pass static analysis when you do. SGDex. This is SceneGraph Developer Extensions. This is a toolkit of SceneGraph components for a rapid channel development. If you've been developing on Roku for a long time and remember the original legacy SDK, SceneGraph was an attempt to bring some of the legacy SDK concepts forward to SceneGraph, concepts like full screen components, where if you're doing raw SceneGraph, you have to build each screen out of smaller pieces, maybe a row list and a group of labels and an overhang. And SGDex aims to help you not have to do quite so much work in that department. So it provides a set of pre-built screens that already have all of that work done, and all you have to do is give it the data that needs to be displayed. SGDex also has a content manager, which is really great for talking to various APIs and populating the SGDex views with the data from those APIs. So, and if you have a very complex API that you're working with, that can get really complicated really fast in SceneGraph. So if you have to make, say, 10 API calls to populate a grid, that can be a little daunting, and the SGDex Content Manager aims to help you with that as well. And one of the newer, I think this was true last year, but one of the newer features in the SGDex Content Manager is that it is no longer coupled with the SGDex views. So in early versions of SGDex, to use the Content Manager meant also having to use the views, and that was not ideal for a lot of people. And that's no longer true. So you can now build a custom view and use the Content Manager to populate it. And I'm aware of a fair number of developers that are doing exactly that, which is great news for us. SGDex also has the component controller, which is just a stack manager. Basically, it manages your stack of views within the channel. They can be SGDex views or they can be custom views. It doesn't care. And it does all of that stack management for you. And SceneGraph also, of course, supports platform features like Graph and Roku Pay. Then we have the Roku Advanced Layout Editor, or Rail, as we call it internally. Rail is, I hesitate to say WYSIWYG, but it gives you a hierarchical view of the node tree inside your channel, and it will let you within the tool on your PC dynamically lay out visual bits and pieces of your channel and have them reflected on device. So it's great for quick prototyping of your UX. Changes are made in the UX, and there is of course a connection over to the device. So you have the tool running on your PC, you have a special channel running side-loaded on your box that it will render those changes in real time. Then we have the unit test framework. So this is for writing unit tests in a JUnit 5 type syntax. There are 3 pieces to it. So it's similar to other tools. You have the tool running on your PC, you have a channel side-loaded on your device, and they communicate with each other to run whatever set of unit tests you choose to define that you want to run on your channel. And then similar to that is the Roku channel automation system. So this is more for testing UX, whereas the unit test framework is kind of for testing code paths and function return stuff. The automation tool is more for UX. So this is a custom Selenium driver that, again, tool running on the PC, channel running on the device, will launch your channel, and it gives you a way to test whether or not certain SceneGraph components exist at any point in time. So you can write your tests in Robot or JavaScript. Internally, we tend to use Robot. We also publish a Postman collection for the tool. One handy thing with this one, you can run test cases on multiple Roku devices simultaneously. This is a big time saver. And it's also great for sort of comparing channel performance across a range of different devices. And that's my spiel. So I will turn it back over to Jonathan.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the great presentation, run through the tools. So we're going to get started with our Q&A session. So let's start going through the question received. We're going to try to ask the team as many questions as we can. We've got plenty of time before the next panel. Please keep writing in your questions in Slido and make sure you guys are upvoting the best questions. This is a great opportunity to interact with our team of veteran SceneGraph developers who have worked on our tools. So these guys are the experts, so please take advantage of this time. So let us take a look at the first questions that we have, and it comes from Marcelo. The Mac version of the tools are not signed. That makes corporate users have to request our IT department to whitelist each tool we want to use. Please, Roku must sign the app. That also improves security for developers.
Yeah, I'll take that question. Yeah. So yeah, 1.0 is not signed, but in 1.1, which should be coming in 2 weeks, we will sign. We are working on signing it. Yeah. Thanks for the request. And at the same time, we'll be signing all the other tools also, which is also not signed. So we are working on it. Yeah. Thanks.
Excellent. So you ask, you shall receive. Vince asked, it would be nice if the Roku Advanced Layout Editor would allow developers to drill down into native node child components. For example, being able to see all the values that are applied to row list items. Currently, we have not found a way to get row list item UI values rendered on a device.
That's interesting. I wasn't aware of that one. That's something we can definitely look into that.
Yeah, if you've got more details, Vince, that's once again something where you could provide that in through your partner engineer or partner success at roku.com or through the developer Slack channel with the details, and we can follow up with you. Any plans on improving the unit test framework? Seems like there hasn't been any work on this for a long time.
So right now there is no definite plan, but if there is any request, like what kind of improvement is needed, probably we can take a look.
Let's see. All right. Vince asked, here's a feature request. Having an official network monitoring tool to debug HTTP requests would be very helpful. Configuring Charles is cumbersome and requires BrightScript modifications to be done, which isn't always as conducive to QA or non-technical teams.
Yeah, that's a fair ask. I agree. Configuring a network proxy is not easy, but a lot of times, especially nowadays, in the past less so, but nowadays so much traffic is secured that even those tools are less useful than they used to be. So yeah, it's an interesting idea.
Okay. Now here's a question that kind of has come up, I think, recently. Are there any plans for implementing an API for the developer portal? This may be in the context of updating like channels and batches and things like that, just to make it easier for deploying and testing channels.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah, so there is internal discussion, but there is no form plan yet. But I think we are definitely listening to this one because we know that this will improve some workflow on developer side.
Okay. The next question, and this question may actually be a question for the Roku Pay team. I'm going to ask it anyway. Let's see how this goes. From the docs, thank you for reading the docs. The billing testing channel may only be used by the root account user. Is this requirement changing anytime soon so I can test/develop my own Roku developer account and not have to switch to the company who I'm developing the app for? And judging by that, like I said, this is something that what you can do, Evo, if you want to post that question in the Roku Pay panel channel in the Roku Developer Summit Slack, that'd be great. or you can also post that in the Roku developer Slack channel as well. That would have been a great question yesterday, but I can still follow up with the team and see what we're doing there. Okay. Next question. Is there potentially an option to share a roadmap of developer tools and allowing the community to vote? Great question.
Well, I think no to the first part. I don't think sharing the roadmap is going to happen. But in terms of community feedback, I would point out that several of these tools are out there on GitHub, and we do monitor them. So if you want to submit pull requests or open issues on them, we do read those.
Yeah, I'd also follow up and say, like, if you guys have RFEs for tools, that's something you guys can, I think I've probably talked about this with other members of the community. Feel free to kind of list out as a strategy, list out like your top 10 like tool requests and collectively sort of stack rank them, figure out which one of the most important needs. And then you could kind of present that to us. I mean, that's a great way to sort of compile and prioritize your guys' feedback. And then we can sort of incorporate that and kind of use that feedback into our, as an input into our roadmap. So I would encourage you guys to, come up with that list and stack rank it. Okay, next question comes from Jamie. BrightScript elements such as the newer Zoom row list show up in Rail as a Zoom row list. As a developer, I cannot get in to see what URI are set for the content, which titles are set for the content, and so on. We need to be able to inspect deeper into the Zoom row list component.
Okay, that sounds, I think we had basically the same question a bit earlier. Yeah, Rail needing to dive deeper into grid components. That's good feedback.
Excellent. Okay, well, here is the always exciting emulator question.
I think again, there's the roadmap, and there's the most frequently asked thing. So yeah, probably we cannot say anything right now.
Cool. I'm glad we had a chance to see that question and address it.
Yeah.
It's always, like I said, it's not a developer summit, panel session without that emulator question. Do the Roku Resource Monitor and BrightScript Profiler work for non-SceneGraph applications? This would be a good question for Jeff.
Yeah, so in general, I would say it's not really supported. It may work for some applications, but it's in general, the answer is technically no.
Okay. Next question from George. So I've seen a lot of bugs in the Deep Link tester and Roku remote tool, which makes them somewhat unusable for us. Where should we send bugs?
So that's a good question. Do we have a email ID on that one? If not, basically we should just add a email ID on the DevTool website.
Yeah, that'd be good actually if we had a link for.
Yeah.
So we can take that as sort of a request. George, also, if any bugs like that, standard places through your partner manager, partner success at roku.com, the Roku developer Slack channel, and we can get those and we can pass those on to the team that way also. Okay, from Alex. Oh, sorry, George again. Any chance of getting a logging solution for deployed channels so we can at least get some logging info?
Yeah, I can take this one. This is Jeff. So this request has come up a number of times. Obviously, we're not going to talk about forward-looking features, but we have heard this and we have looked at it. So we can't really give any date, but thank you for the question. I appreciate it. And again, we're not committing to doing this, but we know that it's a common ask. Thanks.
Okay. From Alex. As a new developer, I find it extremely difficult to get started with a Roku app. Looking at the example developer channel on GitHub, it's over 2 years old. Is it still valid? Other than reading the manual, thank you once again for another opportunity for me to avoid cursing on air, which I've done. Is there a proven way to get up to speed with creating a custom channel? So I think I'm going to take this one. So yeah, actually that sample will still, I think that sample still works. It should pass channel certification. It'd be good for me to revisit it. We're going through our own internal exercise, what we can do to make developing on the platform faster and easier for developers, especially novice developers. And so one of those things is, that channel and those videos are sort of the backbone for self-serving newer developers. And we are looking ways to expand our education and training, and also maybe enhancing that sample as well to see what else it may need. So we're definitely working on education and training to make it easier for newer developers to sort of self-serve. But that still is that sample channel. It's a great way to, get in and see how things are done. And I definitely recommend watching the videos. The host of that video was awesome. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, depending on the type of channel you're trying to build, I would encourage you to take a look at SceneGraph developer extensions, the SGX tool. It can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you in a basic, I'll call it a basic channel, but a typical grid to video type channel. I think you would find it's much easier to build that with SGDex than trying to do it from scratch.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. Take a look at SGDex that provides, pre-built templates for components in your channel UI. It really does help expedite channel development. So, and SGDex, we have our own, there's a GitHub repo for that with some great examples, great documentation. So definitely take a look at that. Okay. From John, could the Roku Resource Monitor show limits, indicators for system graphics memory usage limits? It's great to know how much system memory, graphics memory is in use, but it would be much more helpful if we knew the maximum limits per device. Jeff, what say you?
So we do show for system memory, we show the limit on some platforms. On some platforms it's available, on some platforms it's not. We don't publish the list of which platforms provide that information, but you will see it's there for some platforms. As far as the graphics memory, I don't recall if it puts a limit on it or not currently, but effectively the graphics memory is a cache, and so it will typically just fill up. What you really want to look at there, so for graphics memory, it's pretty obvious. It just fills up and you'll see a flat line. For what you want to watch there is system memory, and we don't publish a limit for system memory related to graphics usage, the graphics textures use. But for graphics memory usage in general, the limit is pretty flat, so that's obvious.
Okay. Will we see a V2 3/4 of the Roku Resource Monitor? If so, when?
Yeah, I can comment a little bit. So you'll see V1.1 pretty soon, like in a couple of weeks, and V2 you guys will be seeing in a spring time frame, like probably along with the firmware 12.0 version, which will be most probably in March or April. And then we'll think about 3 and 4. Then we'll communicate 3 and 4.
Awesome. Any plans to have a tool to validate the app performance across all the devices available in the market?
Unlikely. That's a large set of devices. I think the best advice we could give right now is to pick a handful that represent the spectrum. So pick a really low-end device, pick a mid-tier device, and pick a really high-end device and use those to test your channel.
Yeah, I'll follow up and say that take a look at our certification documentation, because it has the devices that, as far as the required channel performance that's required based on the specified devices. So it's good to make sure you have those devices in your test suite, along with that breadth of what Chris is talking about of high performance and sort of lower performance devices. Just ensure that your channel provides a high performant experience across all devices in our platform. Okay, next question is from John. I'm sorry. It is going to be, I'm still going to go with John. Are there plans to update the Roku remote tool where it could be run from the command line without the UI? The goal would be to automate it. I lost the question. So now, but anyway, I think I got most of it. There we go. The goal would be to automate REST scripts that were created with the tool.
I'm not aware of such a plan, but it's a cool idea. We could look at it.
Awesome. Okay, got another sort of RFE type question from John. Would it be possible for Roku to allow the Roku Resource Monitor for side-loaded builds without having to rekey the device with packaging key that matches an installed channel? Same question for using the new ECP commands.
The short answer is it works now. So it's intended to work for the side-loaded channel should always be monitorable. As long as so as long as the device is enabled for channel development and you've got a side-loaded channel, you can use all those commands. You can use Roku Resource Monitor, you can use ECP.
Awesome. All right, next question. The advanced layout editor is great, but it has bugs and it crashes. Is there any app support work going on for Rail?
Yes, Rail is being maintained. If there are specific problems you're having, please share them and we can take a look.
Okay, next question from John. For the Roku remote tool, are there plans to add export options where the recorded remote keys could be exported to the format that the Roku automated channel testing uses? This could be a huge time saver for creating automated channel test scripts.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I think we could do that pretty easily. That's a really cool idea.
Alejandro asks, why the PRs on SGDex are not reviewed or accepted? Is it going to be supported or upgraded in the future?
Yeah, so this has to do with the way we release SGDex. So when someone submits a pull request, we do review it, and it may get incorporated, but it's not always reflected in GitHub because we don't use that GitHub repo for our own development in SGDex. We use a different tool internally and then just push the release out to GitHub. So you won't see the pull request be accepted, even though it may have been the feature may have been incorporated into a release.
Okay, got a Roku smart home device question. Now that Roku has moved into the IoT space, can we expect developer tools for these as well?
I don't think we have anything to say on that right now.
Yeah, no comment.
Moving on. I understand that Roku has stated that an emulator could reveal security. Perhaps a short-term solution is, could we get an endpoint in the Roku device web server to output a stream of what is on screen, like screenshots, but live-ish video over HTTP? Think we can.
I suppose. I mean, it's technically feasible. I don't think we'd ever have considered that before, but we can take a look.
Okay. Next question. Are there plans to add rendezvous monitoring to the Roku Resource Monitor? It'd be great to see the data in the same place as the other metrics without having to use the ECP command.
I agree. That would be a fantastic feature, but we can't commit to whether we're actually going to do that or not. But I like it.
Let's see. Next question. And it's not tool related per se, but it is critical to enabling developers to create quality work. Is there any information available regarding best practices design patterns? The current documentation will have regarding individual components, but not much at a higher architectural design level. I guess I can start. I mean, there is, as far as when we're talking about improving documentation and other supporting material for newer developers, one of the areas that have identified is there is a section on the channel design that we'd like to take a look at and enhance and update, for one thing. So I kind of concur with the ethos of this question.
Yeah, well, I would point to SGDex again. I mean, even if you don't want to use that framework to build your channel, it is developed following what we think are best practices, and there's also a set of sample channels with it that the same is true of those. So I mean, that's a good, just if you want sample code, that's a good place.
Great. Okay. Is there a way to use the Roku Resource Monitor with continuous integrations and continuous development to track and visualize memory usage for specific user journeys? Maybe something similar to static analyzer jar.
So I'm not sure I completely understand the question. To automate it would be a little difficult. So it looks like you've got a CI process that's generated a build and some new change, and you want to run a set of tests on it and see what the RRM graph looks like. There is currently no way to automate it. That's an interesting question. We haven't really thought of that. It could get complicated because you might want user input. Again, this is a fairly big question. The one thing I will say is that because the ECP commands are available, you can potentially write your own tool to do some of these things. But right now, RRM really won't support that, and it seems like a big task to try to make it support it. So I doubt that we will support it in that tool, but I don't know.
All right. I would suggest that use the ECP command, but because RRM use the ECP command to basically output whatever you want to output on the memory side or anything, and then visualize it, whatever visualizer you guys can get it.
Okay. From Brian, can you give us some more detail about what file-backed memory is? I assume it is using the same flash memory as the channel storage. Should we be concerned if we see that being used? Is it possible that timeouts in our application may be caused by Roku writing to the file-backed memory? By the device writing to the file-backed memory?
So I'll answer this the best I can. So the memory types are pretty technical. You do see, if you go to the website, we've documented what the various types mean, which it sounds like the person who asked this question read that. In general, I would say file-backed memory, the great majority of it should be read-only. So it's things like your bytecode, your just compiled BrightScript is read in, and that is file-backed memory. And we don't typically write to that. So I doubt that timeouts would be related to that. Well, so do we lose our moderator?
Yeah, I don't hear Jonathan.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
There you go.
My bad. Unless you're really good at lip reading, I'm going to repeat the question. This is nitpicking, but SGDex was developed in a case-insensitive environment, but with BrightScript and the Visual Studio Code extension become more popular, and those are case-sensitive environments. There are a couple of inconsistencies that are annoying. Would someone be willing to load SGDex samples into that IDE and kill gnats?
Yeah, well, actually, I guess they're in that list. There is the IDs that we're talking about. So yeah, we can put that on our list of things to do.
Awesome. Okay. Brian asks, any plans to add write or delete support for query registry? That would be really helpful.
Well, again, this is a forward, we haven't had too many asks for this. So if this is important, I would say maybe bring it up on the forums or find a way to put a comment on GitHub, because this isn't something that I've heard a lot being asked for.
Next question from John. Any plans to include the RO registry metrics for how many bytes are in use for a channel? I think the ECP query registry output would be the perfect place for it. It could also be included in the Roku Resource Monitor tool. I'm aware there already is the if registry get space available BrightScript function.
Well, this is another one of those that it's a great ask. A lot of people have asked it, and I like it, but we can't commit to whether we're going to implement it.
Okay, let's see. What is the memory of the temp folder?
I think that probably varies by device.
Okay, winding down to our last couple of questions. We're gonna stop this probably in about 3 minutes. Just give time to set up our next panel. Will the Roku Analytics component library be updated to support integration with Google Analytics 4? Universal Analytics is being deprecated.
Yeah, we are aware of this. My understanding is that the measurement protocol, which is what the analytics component uses, is not necessarily being deprecated with Universal Analytics. But yes, this is something that we're aware of and looking at.
Okay. George is going to wrap things up. Would be lovely to have a debug of remote output of on screen, especially for recording demos, show and tell for features.
So I'm not sure if this does this.
This is one of
the feature that I hear from. I'm sorry, what's that, Jonathan?
I would say this one is maybe go ahead first, and we'll see if we want George to expand on this with the raise hand feature.
So what I'm wondering is if what it's being asked is that output, the key presses on the remote be displayed on the screen when in certain debug modes. That would be an interesting feature, but if that's not it, please clarify.
Yeah, George, you can, if you want. Oh, there we go. Let's see. So George, George, the floor is yours.
Hello. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, wouldn't it be great if we could see on the screen that we press left, up, right, down, okay, etc. That was it in a nutshell. It's surprisingly hard to do for video demos.